24 minutes past 8. You're still tuned in to Salam Media with me, Salano Makwidir. And joining me right now is Ali Komape from Palestine Solidarity Forum. Ali, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to Salam Media.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Let's jump right into it. Apartheid is really weak. For someone that doesn't know what it's all about, in the shortest of forms, how can you explain it? And also why is it so important for us, especially with what's currently happening in Gaza, to raise more awareness about it and have people know and understand what it is all about.
Israeli Apartheid Week is a global campaign launched by Palestinians to raise awareness on the Palestinian plight against the Israeli oppression, but to highlight also why Israel qualifies as an apartheid state and how it practices apartheid. It's a global campaign that usually goes to different sectors of the community, but is very prominent on university campuses globally. It goes to civil society, political parties, religious organizations and institutions, trade union movements. It is a global campaign to raise awareness. Goes to almost every corner of our society. It's a very important one this year, of course, because of what's happening in Gaza. We are looking at over 30,000 Palestinians killed at this moment, civilians, Palestinians in Gaza, who have nowhere to run to, who have nowhere to get refuge, that are being killed, that are being slaughtered on a daily. It's important for the world, it's important for our communities to know how Israel does this and for our communities to know how Palestinians are asking for help on this particular issue.
Mm. I think what really stands out for me, especially I think you'd concur as a South African, the word apartheid. We've been watching what has been happening at the ICJ recently with a lot of countries, putting those oral arguments against the state of apartheid Israel, essentially. But what has been an overarching theme to this, to most of the oral arguments, even some that were made by the South African team that made its way to the ICJ, is the fact that seemingly what's happening in Gaza and Palestine right now, it has become more than just apartheid. It has become a genocide. Do you feel like with us still using the term Israeli apartheid week, we are not only limiting to those that don't know what's currently happening in Gaza, about just the severity of the situation, but also maybe in many ways, giving the Israelis leeway into what they are doing and just how horrific it is compared to what we know and understand to be as apartheid here in South Africa.
I think it's very important for us to visit or revisit what apartheid means. The International Convention on Human Rights clarifies or characterizes apartheid as a crime against humanity. So this is very similar to genocide, if not the same. And if you look at Israel and how it qualifies in apartheid state, it qualifies as a regime that is practicing crime against humanity. You can look at it in three folds. So the first fold is on the legal and the merits of the case. We've had a number of human rights organizations that deal with the legalities and the academic characterization of apartheid that has classified Israel as an apartheid state. You're looking at Amnesty International, you're looking at Human Rights Watch. You look at B'Tselem, even an Israeli human rights organization, and on that front, it qualifies an apartheid state. And of course, you look also on the academic side. You look at Professor John Dugard, who's an expert in international human rights law, who has published several papers saying apartheid state. Just you look at the qualification of apartheid morally by those who have experienced it. You have Khalma Motlanthe, the former president of this country, who visited Palestine, and when he came back, the Western apartheid, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, the father, was run non-violent campaign against apartheid. When he visited Palestine, he came back and said, it is worst. You look at Trinity Nyala, the former Speaker of the National Assembly. She visited Palestine, came back and said, this is Western apartheid. Look, so it does qualify as an apartheid state. So it does
Mm,
qualify as a state that's practicing crimes against humanity. So crimes against humanity do include in other forms genocide. So what's happening in Israel now, by characterizing it as an apartheid, we think it's accurate, also because we do not want to limit it to one event type of an arrangement. We know that Israel perpetually bombs Gaza. They year in and year out there was bombardment campaign in Gaza. Year in and year out there are massacres. Year in and year out. So we do not want to limit it to an event, but it's a system. The regime systematically practices genocide through apartheid.
mm, mm. And you put it so eloquently about just how South Africans that have experienced apartheid and understand and know what it is have called what's happening in Israel essentially apartheid. Well, that seemingly is worse than what we've experienced here at home. But for South Africans that are here at home saying, you know what, locally we have so many problems ourselves. We're having issues of load shedding, misgovernance, unemployment, high crime rates. Are we really at a position to be essentially what we have become, the forerunner in advocating for, the liberation of the Palestinian people when we have so much going on here at home? Is that responsibility the one that we should assume? Are we capable of assuming that responsibility and essentially, are we able to carry it looking at what's happening here at home and some of the shortcomings that we seem to be having?
Look, two things here, and we've responded to this type of narrative quite substantially in the past. It's an African to not care about others. It's a foreign concept to us. When we speak about Ubuntu or Votu or Mutupeli, those are principles of African society. That I am because we are. And those are the principles and those are the building blocks of South African and African societies. We simply cannot sit back and watch injustice because we are busy with our own problems. We have never done that. I think the most fundamental thing about South African society, and of course, African societies is the intimate communal living amongst each other. It has never happened in our history of humanity in African society that we say, no, we don't care about others because we simply have our problems. Secondly, if that were the narrative, people would have not cared about us during apartheid. We must remember that South Africans and South Africans in particular got huge, massive international support, not only from the African brothers and sisters, but from the global community that said we cannot stand and watch when people are being persecuted. This narrative is disingenuous, it is pathetic, and we should expose it because it does not come from us. It comes from a certain clique in our society that represent a proxy of Israel that says, what about load shedding? What about healthcare? What about crime? What about property rates? Nonsense. We do not behave like that as Africans. It is very, very un-African. It is foreign. It is alien for people to think like that in our society.
Since apartheid, Israel apartheid, what are there any competitors,
Hello, did I lose you there?
Testing, testing. Hello, hello, Ali. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes?
Yes, yes. We lost you for a second there. I was just saying, during this time, during this week, Israeli apartheid week, what should the layman do? There are people that feel really demoralized, are feeling, there isn't much that I can do. I'm so far away. I'm in South Africa. Gaza is, thousands of kilometers away. I'm here at home. What can I do to try, in whatever small way, try and influence change?
I think if you think of yourself as one unit, one isolated unit from the rest, there's not really much you can do. But if you think of yourself as one among thousands, hundreds, and millions of people in the world who are standing for Palestine, then we have the confidence to continue doing something. So during Israeli apartheid, there will be a number of activities in communities, in the local mosque, there'll be Juma lectures. At your closest university campus, there'll be workshops, there'll be educational lectures. In your local high school, there'll be moving screen. There'll be a number of things happening during the week. So just be available for that. Just attend that. I think that's also important during Israeli apartheid week. It's for us laymen and for us ordinary people to continue conversations to raise awareness on Israeli apartheid in the Palestinian plight. If you're taking your car to a car wash, have a conversation with the car wash workers about what is Israeli apartheid and what's happening in Palestine. In your local neighborhood WhatsApp group, raise the issue, having dinner with friends, raise the issue. And I think that's the little that we can do, just show up. And if you take yourself as one unit amongst millions, thousands in the world uh, working towards the Palestinian cause, then you will know that we are doing something and we are going somewhere.
No, I think we're going to leave it there. Ali, thank you so much for joining us and, having this very important conversation. We hope to catch up with you soon, but for now, we'll leave it there.
Thank you for having me.
There you have it, Ali Komape there from Africa for Palestine. Shedding a bit of light on Israeli Apartheid Week and why is it so important, for us to be involved. I think what he put so eloquently for me is, sometimes you might have, a little, march or, protest or whatever in your little town, in your little, a suburb, and you feel you might not be doing that much of a difference. And he put it so eloquently and said, don't think of yourself as an individual. You're part of something bigger. You're part of something greater. And in whatever way, you are making a big difference. I mean, you can just see if it wasn't for the many marches and protests and many, pickets that were happening last year around the country, in different communities, I really doubt that the South African government would have taken that case up with the ICJ. It was because of you and many others, like you, that showed up to those pickets, that showed up, to those demonstrations and to those walks, that gave our government, I think, an eye opener that we actually care about the plight of the Palestinian people and our government as a representative of the people of South Africa, the first representative of the people of South Africa. They should be doing something about it. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, but really interesting conversation there with Ali Komape. We'll be talking Sudan. That's what we'll be throwing our eyes to. We'll be speaking to Dr. Immaculate Asaj. We'll be speaking about democracy in Sudan and America's influence. Is it granted? Is it not granted? Is it working? Is it not working? And democracy itself in America, are they in a position to try and influence democracy anywhere else when theirs doesn't seem to be in great shape? All this and more after the break.